If you like our short stories, please like, comment and subscribe. The castle smelled like rain and ink. Marla Greaves had never felt so far from home. She stood at the back of the great hall, fingers clenched tightly around her sleeves. The floating candles flickered like quiet stars above rows of students. 4 long tables stretched out like arms waiting to sort and claim her. The sorting hat rested on its stool, silent and still. Her name was called. Greaves, Marla. She walked forward. Her footsteps echoed. Her robes felt too big, her heartbeat too loud. She sat. The hat dropped over her head and the world went dark. "Well now," said a voice inside her mind. "Another quiet one. Not without depth, though. Let's see." Marla waited. She'd been told she'd end up in Ravenclaw, maybe Hufflepuff. But the hat didn't speak. It hesitated. Then came a murmur, low and almost ashamed. "Umbra." A pause. "Wait, no. That house was sealed." Marla's heart thudded. "What did you say?" "Nothing," the hat snapped. "Ravenclaw!" The hall clapped politely. Marla stood in a daze, her ears ringing. She walked to her new table, but her eyes flicked back to the sorting hat. It hadn't moved. Its brim twitched once, like it was shivering. That night, sleep came slowly. The Ravenclaw dormitory was quiet, all blue velvet and star-streaked windows. But Marla dreamed. She stood in a hallway made of black marble, polished and cold. At the far end stood a door without a handle. It bore a strange crest, a silver ring surrounding a weeping eye. A woman appeared without walking. She simply was. Dressed in flowing robes of drifting smoke, her face a shifting blur, she raised a hand and whispered, "We are the forgotten, but we remember you." Marla gasped awake. Her breath was shaky. The room was still, silent. Moonlight painted cold lines across the floor. She sat up and saw something on her pillow. A book. Old, bound in velvet black leather. No title on the cover. Just a single word on the spine in faded silver, Umbra. She brought it to the library the next day. "Can you help me read this?" she asked Madame Pince. The librarian squinted. "Read what?" "This." Marla opened the book. Blank, every page. "Is this some kind of joke, Miss Greaves?" "No. It had writing last night." "Take it away. I don't have time for nonsense." Marla fled to the back corner of the library, heart pounding. She opened the book again. Words appeared. The 5th house was not destroyed. It was buried. Each page turned itself one after the other. Its students were not expelled. They were unwritten. The sorting hat remembers, even if no one else does. That night she returned to the hallway from her dream. Not in sleep, awake. She hadn't known where she was going. Her feet led her, past the tapestry of the troll ballet, around a spiral staircase that hadn't existed the day before. At the end of the hall was a silver door. No handle, no keyhole. Just the crest, the weeping eye. She reached out. The metal shimmered under her fingers, a pulse like a heartbeat. And then her name. "Marla," whispered from the other side. Marla didn't tell anyone about the door. She tried once. In charms, she leaned toward Leora Jones, a helpful Ravenclaw prefect who'd shown her around the library. "There's a hallway that shouldn't be there," Marla whispered. "And a door, with a crest I've never seen." Leora blinked, mid-quill stroke. "What hallway?" "The one down past the—" But even as Marla tried to explain, her words tangled. The memory blurred at the edges like smoke in water. Leora smiled. "Sorry, what were you saying?" Marla went quiet. She returned to the library. The book still lay hidden in her satchel, and when she opened it, alone, behind the divination shelves, it was no longer blank. New words had appeared. "They will not believe you. Their minds are sealed. Yours is not." The page turned on its own. An illustration emerged, sepia-toned and flickering like flame. It showed students sitting in a quiet candle-lit room. Their robes were dark, trimmed in silver. The crest above the hearth, a weeping eye inside a ring. Marla ran her finger across the page. The paper hummed. She turned the next page. The 5th house was founded alongside the others. Its name was Umbra. Its values: memory, instinct, secrecy and shadow. It did not teach courage or cunning or cleverness. It taught what could not be taught. Another page turned. Its founder, Selena Umbra, a seer, a memory walker, a witch who believed that magic was strongest where the mind was weakest. Marla stared. Then, smaller, written in silver ink across the bottom, Umbra was not lost. Umbra was removed. The next dream came faster. Marla found herself once again in the marble corridor. The weeping eye glowed faintly on the door ahead. The woman was there again, robed in drifting mist, her face more visible now, pale, sharp, ageless. "You opened the book?" the woman said. "Who are you?" "You know already." A beat, then. Selena Umbra. The woman nodded once. 4 houses stood. One warned them, memory is not to be trusted. They ignored me. Her voice echoed, not aloud but from behind Marla's own thoughts. So they removed us. Our students, our magic. They erased us from the castle's bones. Why me? Marla asked. Because the sorting hat never forgets, and neither do you. The next night she found the hallway again, this time while fully awake. It wasn't where she remembered it. Now it branched off from the defence corridor, past a door labelled Maintenance. The silver door stood at the end, glimmering like moonlight on ice. This time, when she touched it, the crest pulsed once. The door slid open with a whisper of breath. The chamber beyond was cold. Dust filled the air. Long-forgotten desks sat in rows, shattered and collapsed. Mirrors lined the walls, cracked in spiderweb patterns. Tapestries hung limp and colourless, their crests faded but still visible. Marla stepped forward and nearly tripped over a wooden table, its surface covered in broken glass. Beneath the shards glowed something faint. She brushed the glass away. A name carved deep, Marla Greaves. Her blood ran cold. Then footsteps echoed behind her. She turned. A boy stood in the archway. Thin, tall, his robes marked with the Gryffindor crest, but barely lit, like a dream bleeding into shadow. I saw it too, he said. The door, the book, the dreams. Who are you? Cassian, first year. Gryffindor, technically. He stepped into the room and touched one of the cracked mirrors. His reflection didn't move. I think we were meant to be here, he said. Not anywhere else. They stood in silence. Then the floor beneath them lit with ancient runes. Words unfurled in flickering silver. Those who don't belong to Umbra. The next morning, nothing felt real. Marla moved through her classes in a daze, scribbling notes, nodding when spoken to, but her mind stayed anchored in the hidden chamber beneath Hogwarts. The cracked mirrors, the faded tapestries, the name carved into the wood. Cassian's words echoed. We were meant to be here. That night, they returned together. Cassian led her down a different path, through a corridor behind the trophy room that had never been there before. The silver door opened silently without needing to be touched. Inside, the air felt colder. And someone else was already waiting. A boy stood near the centre of the chamber, examining the broken glass with gloved hands. His Slytherin crest was barely visible beneath a dark green cloak. He turned slowly. Name's Ishan, he said. I woke up outside the castle last night. I don't remember leaving. But I followed something. He looked at Marla and Cassian. And now I'm here. The next day, a fourth joined them. Leora Jones. The Ravenclaw prefect who once forgot Marla's question now remembered too much. She arrived in the chamber with shaking hands and a journal filled with sketches. Dozens of drawings of the weeping eye, all done in her sleep. I think I've been here before, she whispered. Even though I haven't. Cassian smiled, not unkindly. Sounds about right. Marla opened the book. New ink had appeared. 4 now. 4 awaken. 4 more remain. When the 5 houses are whole again, the castle must choose. Each night they returned to the hidden room, and each night something changed. On the 3rd night, one of the mirrors had repaired itself. It showed them, not as they were, but as they might become. Cassian, taller, his robes lined with silver and ash, wand-drawn and eyes cold. Ishan, cloaked in mist, his voice commanding shadows like pets. Leora, whispering secrets into the air, as ghostly figures wrote them down. And Marla, standing before the chamber throne, the crest of Umbra glowing from her chest. They stared at the images for a long time. Then the mirror spoke, not aloud, directly into their minds. We are what they buried. The lights flickered. The runes on the floor pulsed. Another page in the book turned. The 5th house was sealed beneath memory, but memory is not stone. It bleeds, and now it seeps upward. Marla began noticing changes in the school. Small at first. A corridor that used to lead to the owlery now looped back into the library. Prefects began forgetting curfew routes. Ghosts avoided certain staircases. And sometimes, just for a breath, Marla would spot a student wearing black and silver robes with no house crest. Then they'd vanish. They confronted the sorting hat. Leora snuck them into the headmistress's office while she was away. The sorting hat sat on its shelf, slumped and silent. Marla approached it slowly. I need to know what you saw in me, she said. The hat didn't move. Then its brim twitched. I see everything, it whispered. Even what I'm forbidden to say. Umbra is real. I never forgot her. It rasped. But the founders bound me. I can no longer speak her name in the hall. Cassian stepped forward. Then say it now. The hat shuddered. You are not ready. What happens when we are? Marla asked. The hat went still, then softly. Then the fifth house returns, and the others will fall. They returned to the chamber in silence. Marla, Cassian, Ishan and Leora. 4 now, all drawn by dreams, by voices, by something older than Hogwarts itself. The mirror had changed again. It now showed a figure standing in the centre of the room, not a reflection, but a presence. A girl, perhaps 16, dressed in dark robes trimmed with silver. Her hair floated around her like she stood underwater. Her eyes were smoke. She pressed her palm to the glass, and though her mouth never moved, they heard her speak. You are close, but not complete. Leora stepped forward. What do we have to do? The mirror pulsed. Finish the circle. They found the symbol in the Umbra book, an old diagram of 5 points in a ring, each marked with a different sigil. 4 were now faintly glowing in the book's margins, matching their names. 1 remained dark. There's a 5th, Marla whispered. 1 more like us. They needed to find them, but the castle resisted. The next day, the 4 of them each experienced something strange. Cassian's name vanished from the Gryffindor roster. Ishan's wand refused to cast even the simplest lumos. Leora tried to enter the Ravenclaw common room, only to find the Eagle Knocker asking her questions in a language she didn't understand. And Marla forgot her mother's face. For a full hour, she couldn't remember it. Not a feature, not a voice. Only the word mother like a sound carved into glass. The chamber whispered more often now. When they stood inside the silver circle and held hands, the floor would tremble slightly. Shadows on the walls would twitch. A scent like burning parchment would rise from the stone. On the 6th night, the repaired mirror did something new. It cracked. Just a hairline fracture down the centre. From behind the glass, the girl looked pained. The circle is weakening, she said. You must find the one who forgot. Marla's heart dropped. She had no idea what that meant, until the next morning. Cassian was gone. No one remembered him. Not even the professors. When Marla asked about him in the Great Hall, she got blank stares, even from students who sat beside him daily. The Gryffindor table had an empty space where he used to sit, but no one noticed. That night only 3 stood in the chamber. The mirror was dark. The book wouldn't open. Ishan cursed and punched the wall, but his hand passed through the stone, as if the castle didn't recognise him anymore. Leora said nothing. Her face was pale and her eyes distant. I think, she began. I think Hogwarts is trying to erase us too. Marla didn't answer. She could feel the truth pressing down. They were becoming too real. And the castle had spent centuries forgetting. On the 7th night, the door to the chamber was already open when Marla arrived. Inside, silence. The air was colder than it had ever been. The candles had all gone out. In the centre of the room sat the Umbra book, open on its own. 1 sentence glowed across the page. The 5th will return only when one forgets completely. Marla looked at Leora and Ishan, but neither of them remembered Cassian's name anymore. She was the only one who did, and the weight of it bent her knees. Then slowly the cracked mirror began to mend. Piece by piece the image returned, not of the girl, but of a woman in silver robes. Selena Umbra. Her voice cut through the cold. The cost of remembering is forgetting something else. She stepped forward, through the glass. The lake was still. Marla stood at its edge with Leora and Ishan, the 3 of them wrapped in silence. Their breath came in puffs against the cold night air, barely audible over the soft slap of water against stone. Cassian was gone. No one spoke of him anymore. No one even remembered he had existed, except Marla. And now the Umbra book had shown her the path forward, a diagram of tunnels that began beneath the lake and ended beneath the Great Hall. They found the entrance behind the boathouse, half buried beneath a stack of unused crates. An iron grate locked with something far older than any charm. Marla whispered the word the book had taught her. Umbros. The lock dissolved into ash. They descended in single file, wand light flickering off wet stone. The air thickened with every step, cool and heavy, like memory made physical. The tunnel narrowed, then opened into a chamber. Massive, hidden directly below the Great Hall. It was not empty. 5 pillars lined the circular walls. 4 bore the familiar crests, lion, badger, eagle and serpent, though each was subtly warped. The lion had no face. The badger bled from its eyes. The eagle's wings were torn. The snake coiled around itself in an endless loop. The 5th pillar stood behind them all, sealed in black marble. The crest was gone. Only the faint outline of a circle remained, like something had been carved away, buried beneath memory. And in the centre of the room hovered a shard of glass, silver-edged and pulsing with faint light. Marla stepped forward. The shard turned, revealing a reflection, but not hers. Cassian, staring back at her, his expression unreadable, his eyes empty. Then he spoke, though his lips didn't move. "You shouldn't have come," Leora gasped. "It's not him," she whispered. Ishan nodded. "It's what's left." The shard rotated again, now showing Selena Umbra, fully formed, eyes deep as void, her robes flowing like shadow caught in wind. "You brought them here," she said, voice gentle. "You finished the circle. The last piece is in place." "No," Marla said. "We're only 3. One is gone." "One was always meant to be lost," Selena replied. "Umbra cannot exist without absence. We are made of what others forget." The chamber trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling above. Then faintly above them they heard voices. Laughter. Plates clinking. The great hall. No one knew they were standing just below the floor. Just beneath their feet, something was waking. The silver shard split in 2. From it spilled not light, but memory. Visions swirled around them. Students in silver robes walking through walls. Professors screaming as their reflections came alive. Selena Umbra standing before the other founders, wand lowered, saying only, "You do not understand what forgetting truly costs." Then came the final image, the 4 founders, standing in this very chamber, sealing the 5th pillar shut with blood and fire. The words they spoke became carved into the stone. "Let it be remembered. Only by the ones we cannot silence." The chamber dimmed. The shard fell, and as it shattered on the floor, so did the silence. The 5th crest ignited in silver fire, and the forgotten house of Hogwarts began to rise. Hogwarts was breaking. The next morning, the castle no longer felt steady. Hallways changed direction mid-step. Common rooms refused to open. Charms flickered and failed. A Slytherin student walked into the Gryffindor dormitory without a password and burst into tears, unsure how he got there. And the house point's hourglasses? They were all cracked. Marla felt it under her skin, like her blood knew something was wrong before her mind caught up. The walls whispered her name. The paintings no longer moved. The students didn't notice, but the staff did. Professors grew pale and tense. McGonagall clutched her wand during every meal. Flitwick muttered memory charms under his breath like prayers. Hagrid wouldn't come inside, and still, no one remembered Cassian. Only Marla, Ishan and Leora stood apart, and even Leora had begun to fray. She sat in the chamber now, curled in one of the cracked chairs, her voice thin. "I tried to write my name last night," she said, "but the quill wouldn't let me. It kept spelling something else." Marla turned the page of the book. New writing had appeared, the ink trembling like a heartbeat. 3 remain. 1 is hollow. 1 will forget. 1 must choose. "I think," Ishan said, "the castle's about to decide which of us stays." That night, they heard laughter behind the mirror. Not warm, not kind. A soft, echoing laugh that didn't belong to a child, or even a living thing. Selena Umbra stepped forward. This time she did not stay behind the glass. She walked into the room. Solid, real, alive. Her robes shimmered like starlight soaked in ink. Her eyes were voids but not empty, alive with flickering memories. "I am not a ghost," she said. "I am a memory too loud to forget." Marla raised her wand. Selena didn't flinch. "You called me here," she said gently. "You opened the circle. You brought the 5th house home." "This isn't your home anymore," Marla said. Selena tilted her head. "Then why do the stones remember my name better than yours?" The chamber shook. Above them, the great hall echoed, screams, shouts, plates crashing to the floor. They rushed to the surface. The castle was in chaos. Paintings wept black tears. Students forgot their spells mid-incantation. Names vanished from class rosters. The staircase to the astronomy tower had folded into itself like paper. Peeves sang songs in languages no one had ever heard. And at the centre of the great hall stood McGonagall, her eyes wide, mouth open. Who am I?" she whispered. Then she collapsed. That night Marla stood alone in the chamber. Ishan was gone. Vanished between floors like he'd never been there. Leora had locked herself in the library, unable to speak. The 5th pillar now blazed with silver light. The mirrors hummed. The sorting hat was gone from its shelf. And the Umbra book now showed only 1 page. A house must have a leader. Marla touched the glass. It rippled beneath her fingers. Selena stepped beside her reflection. "You were never meant to be a student," she said. "You were meant to be a vessel." Marla looked down at her own hands. They shimmered. Hogwarts had fallen silent. Not broken, silent. The portraits had stopped moving. The ghosts had vanished. The staircases refused to shift. The castle, alive for over 1,000 years, held its breath, waiting. Marla stood beneath the great hall, alone in the fifth house's chamber. The crest of Umbra now blazed on the centre wall, surrounded by glass that shimmered like starlight caught in ice. The mirrors reflected not her face, but a version of her, older, crowned, alone. "You are what I could not be," said Selena, appearing in the glass. "You were made for this." Marla stepped back. "You were erased for a reason." "I was erased because they feared what I understood," Selena replied. "Memory is power, and forgetting is control." The words echoed off the stone like thunder. Above, the floor cracked. The great hall groaned. Students gathered in confusion, fear in their eyes, unable to remember the spells to fix the ceiling. Some forgot their names mid-sentence. One girl looked at her hands and screamed because they weren't hers. Marla heard it all, through the stones, through the chamber's pulse. "The castle's dying," she whispered. "No," said Selena. "It's remembering." The sorting hat reappeared on the floor beside her, torn, ash-covered. Its stitched mouth opened slowly. "You were never meant to lead," it rasped. "But the house must have a head." Marla crouched beside it. "Do I become her?" "No," the hat said. "You become what she couldn't." Selena stepped through the mirror. Her form flickered, solid, then smoke, then glass. "You can seal it again," she said softly. "Forget. Lock the house beneath memory. Live your life. The world won't notice." She reached out. "Or you can let me in, let us return, and shape what comes next." Marla closed her eyes and saw them all. Cassian, Ishan, Leora, faces lost. Then she saw herself, alone, remembered. "I choose," she whispered, and raised her wand. She pointed it not at Selena but at herself, and spoke the final word from the book. Unwrite. Light exploded from her chest. The chamber howled. The mirrors shattered. The crest of Umbra tore itself from the stone and vanished into ash. Selena screamed, not in pain but in fury, in loss. Then she was gone. Marla collapsed. She awoke in the Ravenclaw dormitory. No one noticed she'd been missing. Leora smiled at her in passing, polite but distant, like they'd never met. Ishan's name was never spoken. Cassian never existed. The castle was whole again. The sorting hat sat quietly in its place, stitched and still. The fifth pillar beneath the school? Gone. But sometimes, on certain nights, a hallway appears behind the trophy room, a hallway that shouldn't exist. And in one mirror, hidden in the shadows, a reflection of Marla watches, older, crowned, alone, smiling. The end of the fifth house, House Umbra,